Hello, Internet. Are you there? What is going on, everybody? It is Mike. Welcome to Networked, where we separate the signal from the noise when it comes to your personal technology. I am Mike Caputo, and I am joined by my wonderful co host, Holden.
Hello, how's it going, everyone?
What's going on, everybody? Holden, how you doing today?
Doing all right. It's been a mellow day. It's been kind of rainy, but it's a
Yeah,
day.
it's a day. It's kind of it's a little weird. I've lived in Florida for like officially for like 2 months, but it's warm here every day. It's just hot, like ungodly hot. And I was talking to some friends who live in Chicago, and they're like, "Yeah, it snowed." I'm like, "Whoa, like that's just I
It
can't handle that."
snowed.
Yeah, it snowed.
That's too
Yeah,
much.
it's
That's one
totally
thing
too
I do
much.
not miss about Chicago.
No, so it's really kind of hard to wrap my mind around like several inches of snow when it's just hot as it possibly could be here in Florida.
hmm
Yeah, anyways, everything's going good. And I think we're going to talk some tech today. I'm just looking for my mouse. I don't know what happened to it. So let's see here. Let us know. Oh, hold on. Where did it? There you go. All right. I was looking for the chat window, kept disappearing on me. I guess, let's get started. We're talking iPhone. So the iPhones have been out for just over a week now. No, I'm sorry, about
Yeah.
5 days, depending on when you're watching
Yeah.
this. And it's the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro. Really, I think they're getting a significant amount of praise from individuals, especially people who
hmm
I think maybe who haven't been using the iPhone or haven't used the iPhone extensively for a long period of time. I think it's really an interesting device to say the least.
hmm
But one of the things that came out of the news cycle just recently, I think this came out from like Mark Gurman, if I'm not mistaken, it was that there was some additional functionality found in an FCC filing regarding the iPhone 12, 12 Pro, the Mini. I guess when I say iPhone 12, it's just I'm referring to all of them. Regarding that the phone is capable of doing reverse wireless charging of certain accessories that are yet to be named. And I think that's really interesting because that is like a pain point when you think about your Apple Watch. You might wear it all the time, or you wear it for significant or long periods of time. Your AirPods, whatever the case is. But I think it's really interesting that that feature, at least seems to be on the horizon, maybe for the iPhone 12. Uh, Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's one of those really nice, simple features that Apple should absolutely implement. Even just for AirPods alone, it makes sense. It's kind of weird to have your iPhone plugged into a table, your Apple Watch plugged into a table, and then your AirPods plugged in. Like, I kind of just when I read the article, I realized I naturally just kind of put my AirPod case on top of my phone
Mm-hmm.
sometimes anyway. And that would be a great way just to kind of keep it charged throughout the day. And I think it could actually eliminate you even having to think about charging your AirPods. So I think it's like just for AirPods, it's a great idea. It doesn't sound like Apple Watch is included in that, which makes sense just because Apple Watch doesn't work off of the Qi. Is it called Qi charging? Yeah, Qi charging, right?
Qi charging. You're right.
Yeah. I can't remember if you spell it out QI, but yeah, Qi charging. Apple Watch uses a different standard than that, or actually, I think it's a proprietary standard.
Proprietary
So
standard.
I
Yep.
would like I would like Apple Watch to kind of switch to the QI charging to work with that because I think that would also make sense. It's just kind of resting your watch on top of your phone. Um, but overall, like yeah, it's a cool thing. And in terms of them not announcing it, I think it makes sense to not announce it unless you're going to announce the products that can be charged along with it at the same time, such as
Yeah.
AirTags, which also gets talked about. So I can see why they held it back. It's kind of like they didn't make a big deal last year out of the U1 chip, but they didn't really have anything for the U1 chip to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't need to talk about it.
Yeah. So I think in terms of reverse wireless charging, like I don't know if you're wearing your watch for sleep tracking, but I do. And I get
Yep,
into
I
this
do.
point. Oh, you do? Okay. I
hmm
get into this point where it's like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I get this notification that, oh, my watch is going to die soon. And I'm like scrambling around my house looking for somewhere to charge my phone or charge my watch. And it would be great, even though that might not be within the scope of the feature that we're talking about. But if that was available on your Apple Watch, or at least There is a USB-C to Apple Watch charging adapter which is about yay long, and it basically plugs
Oh,
into
I didn't know
your
about that. Interesting.
yeah. It's maybe about 6 or 8 inches long, if I'm not mistaken. You plug it into USB-C
Okay.
and it charges your watch. I usually keep it on my desk to use with my iPad. It's actually a good accessory to have, especially in your pocket if you're thinking about ways of in your pocket, like ways of condensing the amount of stuff that you carry with you when you actually venture into the world that none of us have been in a very long time. Yeah. So, like you mentioned, there'd be a great way. Oh, hey, what's up, Jason?
Hey, Jason.
I'm just saying. Like you mentioned about your AirPods. Your AirPods kind of naturally you gravitate to putting them on top of your iPhone as kind of like the place that they would be. I mean, I do that all the time. It just seems like it would be something that would be value add for a lot of people. Now, unfortunately, it seems like it's only iPhone 12. So unless you have, a new phone or you're on the horizon getting a new phone, you're not going to get the benefit of that.
Yeah, they have to start somewhere.
Got to start
I mean,
somewhere.
there's always going to be the first phone that does this. So just over time, I think the way to look at phone upgrades now is it's like, oh, cool, that's a nice upgrade. Whenever I get an iPhone, it'll have that feature now. Um, whether I get it this year or next year or the year after that. And then over time, the adoption grows, and then every iPhone eventually is going to have that kind of reverse wireless charging. Um, I do think now that I'm actually kind of second guessing myself, thinking about the Apple Watch, there actually would be an obstacle where, like for example, right now I have a Link bracelet on.
Mm-hmm.
With the Link bracelet, I can't just put my well, I'll actually just take off my watch. So you can see I can't just put my watch down on the
Yeah.
phone because the band's going to get in the way. Whereas on the leather loop, it's not leather loop anymore. What's it called? The
Yeah.
it basically the new leather bands open up completely, so the back of the watch is exposed. So I guess that would be an obstacle, unless you want to wrap your watch band around your phone, which would I think look maybe a little weird. Um, so maybe they won't do that. I don't know.
I don't think Apple's going to punish the rest of us because we don't have the Link bracelet like yourself, right? They're going to let everyone charge the Apple Watch, not just the people who have the Link bracelets.
To be fair, this is not the official Apple Link bracelet.
Listen, no one would have known any of the wiser unless you said anything. But yeah, I think the Link bracelet it's a very nice watch band to have, whether it's first party or not. It looks really classy.
Yeah, I like it. It's the weight. The weight of it's just fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the reverse charging. Yeah, I think was it Samsung has that feature.
They did.
I think they've had it for a few years now. I wonder how that's been going for them.
Yeah, I think most Android phones have some form of reverse wireless charging on there where, not only can you inductively charge the phone, right, but you can also inductively charge another accessory as well. And that it's kind of cool. Again, it comes into a case where you might be going to the gym, your watch is going to die. God, I can't imagine going to the gym right now. But you might be going to the gym, you might be out with your friends, and you want to go ahead and charge your watch because it's going to die because you've been wearing it for 36 hours and you don't have the Qi charger puck, whatever it's called. It would be a nice feature, I guess, a nice value add like we talked about. Hopefully they are able to bring that in somewhere.
And if it integrates with MagSafe, like that would be even better. So you think about like an Apple AirPod case that actually magnetically links on so that when you throw it in your bag, it actually can stay connected and charging if you have your phone in your kind of AirPods case in your bag. Like that could work out pretty well too.
Yeah, there's also this thing here. Let me show it to you. Hold on a second. Go grab it. Oh. So this is from Satechi, and let's see if I can get that in focus here. So this is a USB-C to Apple Watch charging puck adapter. So it's not the first party one that I talked about, but this is really kind of the same thing. And I can imagine something like this.
A lot.
Yeah, it's super sharp, and if you have something that's USB-C, it just plugs in, obviously. But it would be nice if there was something like this. Actually, Satechi makes something like this for the AirPods as well. So they have two different one of these. But it would be, again, something like this from Apple, allow you to go ahead and use your or charge your AirPods, Apple Watch. That would be pretty sweet.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. gosh, hopefully that's something soon. Hopefully it's something that's already present in the watch. I'm sorry, already present in the phone. And it's not something that we have to wait for a new version. It's just something they can flip on with by changing some bits, as I like to say. Yeah. So then
Maybe with AirTags. Maybe with AirTags, we'll finally hear about it.
AirTags, so we didn't really have an idea, or we didn't have that on to talk about today, but that is an interesting subject when you think about AirTags. Oh, and I got to tell you something that I found. So, AirTags, if everyone's not aware, AirTags is Apple's iBeacon kind of tracking hardware that you're able to position items in space to find out where they're at. So you get not only you get an X, Y, and a Z coordinate. I couldn't find my AirPods yesterday, and I opened up Find My, and I'm on the 14.2 beta, and it told me, my iPhone told me where they were by a number of feet, and it told me which way to walk to find them.
Wow, that's really impressive.
I was like, what? Because I'm like, because you know how you can play the noise from your, you can say you can say, hey Shlomo, play noise in my AirPods, and for some reason that didn't work. I had to open up the app, and then it said your AirPods are 40 feet. Just as directions. I'm like, no way. I'm like, let me try this. And I literally walked. I was probably about 8 or 9 feet off from where it was, but it was still kind of crazy that it was that granular. And obviously that's a beta. I'll see if I can reproduce it.
That's just useful because I lost my AirPods recently. I'm on 14, just the standard 14 right now. I'm not on betas anymore. And it's just nice to kind of at least know what general room it's in.
Yep.
I think that can even just make the difference. So that's a nice little touch. That's awesome. How do you do that? Nice, like Johnny I would say, it's magic.
It just works, as they like to say. Yeah. Let's switch gears and let's talk about this super neat game controller and kind of what that means. You as an avid gamer, me as a casual gamer, and I think as Apple is not opening up themselves, but opening up their suite of services to, I think, maybe a more expanded role in gaming with arcade. So if everyone's not aware, if you were to purchase a new iPhone this year, they're giving you 3 months of Apple Arcade included for free. In addition to, I think if you already had Apple TV, they're extending that for another 3 months, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's till maybe February or March. So now there are a number of companies there's one company specifically. It's called Bone, if I'm not mistaken. This was on The Verge, where they have a first-party game controller, and Backbone. Sorry, not Bone. This controller looks pretty sweet in terms of what it can do for casual gaming. I think there's a number of games that they integrate with, including Call of Duty, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Call of Duty. I guess from a casual gaming standpoint, this controller is $100. It can only be purchased once you get into the app because it is app enabled. But it does look like it would afford many new experiences in terms of gaming that I don't think are available today on mobile. What do you think?
No, it looks honestly the first thing that's just nice to assume about the product, at least, it just looks really comfortable to hold. A lot of these kind of attachable controllers, I think, are either too small or they try to fit within like the size of the phone, so it's kind of clean or something like that. And this going down, it looks more comfortable. Reminds me a lot of the Joy-Cons. It looks really solid, but I think the best thing about it is the app it comes with.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to. I usually just have a folder on my phone of just Apple Arcade games and then a separate folder for games. I don't like to kind of have individual games populating my home screen. So it's kind of actually nice that I could even just keep all my games in the app library and then just launch this one app and then see everything. That's awesome.
Yes.
And I can't believe I'm going to say this because I've been very against Apple's plan for xCloud, which is individual games in the App Store, but it would work really well with this controller.
Yeah, it would.
So it seems like a great solution. Now, I mean, obviously, feel of the buttons and that kind of stuff is important, and you can't know that until you use it. But I mean, it looks really solid. And $100, it's really not that bad if you consider the fact that Joy-Cons cost you $80 for a set of 2, and then this also has this app with all those great integrations in it. And also, I learned too, and you just informed me of this. that it takes screenshots as well, but that's an iOS 14 feature.
Yeah.
Which again, that's really nice. It feels like a kind of fully robust mobile console experience, not console quality games necessarily, but just in terms of making parties and that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
impressive.
It is impressive, and I think what's even more impressive is that integrated into one of the handles, there's a 3.5 millimeter jack, and
Hmm.
there's power pass through, so it'll charge Lightning, but then you can also charge this this and your iPhone through. I think it's USB-C power pass through, which really just obviously many other accessories have USB-C, not just the iPhone or not just this, but it really I think it gives a good experience to mobile gaming. I
Hmm.
like it. I think I'm gonna order it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely let me know. Definitely let me know what you think, because
Yeah.
I got a clip for my iPhone to connect it to my Xbox controller,
Okay.
and that works well. But I would much rather do this than hold a normal game controller
Yeah.
and play games that way. Even though it's not a bad solution, the game clip. This looks like a much better solution. And honestly, I think I want it mostly just for the app. I love the app idea. That's great. Why
I
has no
think
one else thought of that before? Or maybe they have, and I've just been, ignorant to it. But I think it's a great system.
I've seen a couple other first party control or not first party. I'm sorry, third party controllers, but nothing that was I think as polished as this is. Um, I, you know, the, I haven't been able to, or I haven't spent the time to get a clip to clip my phone to a PlayStation remote. That seems like it would be kind of like kludgy because of the weight. It's top heavy, right? And is that the case? Is that your experience?
It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but that
Okay.
was my exact concern. And again, like it's not the most comfortable experience.
Yep.
This Backbone One looks much more comfortable. But yeah, it is a
Yep.
little weird to get used to at first. But you can actually, what's kind of nice about it is you can position your phone, at least the one I have, where you're changing its angle and then kind of how far back it is, and so you kind of have some flexibility there. But if you were to say like put your controller down on the table, it wouldn't fall over or anything like that. It would hold pretty
It
well.
would. Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. The one thing that maybe looks a little bit, I wish I could, just kind of a side note, I wish I could share my screen up to figure that one out. Um, the controllers look a little shallow. Like it looks like it doesn't necessarily sit very deeply in the kind of the meat of your hands. Let's see if I can figure
Oh
this
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it seems like you would have to kind of grip it, up high, grip it real good, in order to get a good hold on it. Like how the PlayStation 4 controller, the they actually kind of extend pretty far down. They're about 2 or 3 inches where they sit like right here in the palm of your hands. This looks shallow though. Again, I have to see if I can get it.
So I don't disagree. I do think it's one of those things like personal preference. Like I was actually kind of thinking like a Joy-Con. That's
Yep.
extremely shallow as well,
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I never thought about that.
and it works, but it is because you're kind of gripping, across the whole back of your Switch.
Yeah.
But there are accessories though that can give a more robust grip to your Switch. Like I think they're called Pro Grips, is kind of the usual nomenclature. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a market for that. And I'm sure that they might. This is the Backbone One. Who knows? Backbone Two or One Plus or whatever they're gonna do could
Yeah.
be more robust there. But it looks thicker than a Switch Joy-Con. So like, for me, I feel like it would be good enough. But I can definitely see that being a concern for some people. Excuse me.
Yeah. It looks nice. $100.
It
It doesn't
does.
necessarily. Yeah, I think for $100 for most casual gamers, I think this is probably a turnoff at the price. But if you are more than a casual gamer and you like mobile, right? This is something that you would 100 bucks.
Hmm.
It's not, I don't think it's a tough hill to climb, so to speak.
Not at all.
And I think this opens up the second part of our conversation where the word on the street is that Apple might be bringing a game controller to by bringing their own first party game controller that something would be um, that would allow to be used on your iPhone, on Apple TV, and on the Mac. And there's a new event coming up. I think that just leaked out before the show, but I think the new event in the middle of November, if I'm not mistaken, November 17th. And I don't know, it seemed like it would be a very good time to, as you start talking about the Mac and how iOS 14 and iPadOS 14 kind of focused on games and bringing more advanced or more robust controller support, something like a first-party controller, I think is it's Apple's modus operandi, where they talk about, oh, let's open up to everybody, allow everyone to integrate to our platform, and then we're going to just do our own first-party accessory that beats all yours. Yeah.
It's like the whole no. You go first. You go first.
You go first. It's your turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting, right? I think it would be nice to have, the whole pairing process of using your PS4 remote on your on your iPad or on your iPhone, and then taking it over to the television. I'm pointing over there because that's where my TV is. Bring it to the television, and then maybe turning it back on to your PS4 is just a pain in the butt. And we already know that Apple solved this problem with AirPods Pro and the whole what do they call it? The pairing process? The H2, H1, the whole kind of seamless
something along
syncing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so good too.
Yes, it is so good. And that even how they brought out the this year with the headphones, where you just look at the device, you basically just look at the device and then your headphones switch to it.
When I heard about that feature, I'm like, that's going to be a nightmare. Where I'm going to be like listening to music on my iPhone, and I'll go to my iPad, and it'll suddenly just connect to my iPad. But like, no, it's really smart. And if I'm listening to something on my iPhone, I can browse my iPad, no problem. If I hit the play button on a YouTube video on my iPad, the music stops on my phone, and it connects to my iPad immediately. And oh man, I mean, it is
Good.
way more convenient than even having wired headphones. Like people talk
Yes.
about how like wired headphones are more convenient because you can just plug them in more easily. This is even more convenient than that. It's like the full realization of wireless convenience when it comes to audio. It's awesome. And then it makes me I am dying to get Big Sur on the Mac now, because I don't have Big Sur on my Mac, so I don't have that automatic switching there. To bring it back to the controller, though, that would be amazing. Start a game on your iPhone. Oh, I want to keep playing on my TV, and you just don't have to do anything. It's kind of what makes the Stadia controller so good. Maybe the only thing about it that's so good.
Maybe the only thing, yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting point, and it's something where Apple could definitely differentiate on the experience and just lay the competition out in terms of being able to integrate everything kind of seamlessly.
Absolutely,
the headphones is a really good example. I never thought about that as an example.
I will say that I'm a little interested in how they position a game controller or even a new game service at the next gen launch for PS5 and Xbox Series X and Series S. I don't know if it's good or bad. I kind of have gone back and forth. My gut tells me don't launch a game console next to the big players in the gaming industry. I don't think anything Apple is going to do is really going to compete with PS5 and Xbox Series X. I think it's kind of a different thing they're probably going to go for. But again, we don't know anything, so this is just my assumption. And I don't know if that means that it'll get drowned out, or if the kind of rough availability of the next gen consoles still keeps people interested in gaming, so that they'll consider maybe going to an Apple to kind of fill in that gaming appetite for the new. But I don't know. Like, it's hard to say without knowing what the intention of this game controller is, what software or service or anything else comes out alongside it. It's interesting. I don't know what to expect.
I mean, we're completely just we're spitballing here, right? We have no idea what they're doing, but I think to your point, right? If it is something where they're going to talk about it in the next few weeks, and we know that, I'll say Xbox Series 5. So we know PlayStation 5 comes out. We know there's a new Xbox coming out. I mean, they're in the hands of reviewers now, and I think the launch date for PS5 is for second week of November 12th, November 14th, or something like that.
Yeah, 12th. Yeah, so it's like just 2 weeks tomorrow. 2 weeks, 1 day.
Okay. And when does the new, when does the new Xbox come out?
2 days before that, so November 10th. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's pocketbooks are going to be hurting for those two, right? They're coming up right, and then the new Mac. I mean, it'll be interesting how they position it and how they say that where it fits in terms of kind of gaming experience on the spectrum, against the PlayStation and the Xbox. I don't know.
Hmm.
I I think there. I mean, there's definitely still room because eventually, hopefully sometime sooner rather than later, we're going to leave our house and we won't have that console gaming kind of on demand whenever we want to. And as good as the Switch is, and as fun as the Switch is, there's still probably I think a point where you want to play different type of games that maybe are a little bit more robust
Hmm.
than what you see on the Switch. Who knows?
Yeah, one of the rumors specifically said that there's going to be a Breath of the Wild competitor on
Yeah,
Apple's side, like games of that kind of scale. So I'm interested to see what they can pull off there because I got to admit the Apple Arcade games are very good. They have a very
yeah.
good selection of games. When it first came out, I tried to play as many as I possibly could, and
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to experience a game in Apple Arcade that is less than good for a
Hmm.
mobile game, of course. In
Yeah,
that context of a mobile game, what mobile games can offer.
yeah. Um, you're right. There's definitely a lot of good games, and I don't know, I'm interested to see what happens in the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
I am certainly interested
I
about that.
trust them to pull in some good games for the service. I really do because they Stadia hasn't. I don't know what happened there. Stadia hasn't done anything good in that kind of secondary kind of console market, whatever you want to call it. I think Apple has a chance if they can get good software. So we'll see.
And and maybe if we kind of like look backwards, their position on why they didn't want to allow what's the name of Microsoft's streaming game service? I can't.
XCloud.
XCloud. The reason why they
Yeah.
didn't want to allow it in that current implementation, or it was kind of maybe because they're doing it themselves, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The next few weeks will definitely be interesting in terms of gaming and everything else, right?
It's definitely going to be interesting for Apple in the antitrust conversations that are happening with
Yeah.
if this is all true and they kind of more or less shut down Stadia and XCloud and then introduce
Mm-hmm.
their own platform, that's not going to be a great look. So again,
No.
like, I'm very curious how they position this.
Yeah. I agree with you. Um, let's switch gears if we have nothing more to add to that. I just wanted to talk through my experience regarding the iPad Air 4. So I bought an iPad Air 4 to replace my wife's iPad Pro 2017. It was like the 1 year they made a 10.5
Hmm.
inch. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, of course, I'll be honest with you, but I'll be honest with you. It's
It's
pretty
all a
surprising.
lie.
It's all it's
Don't
it's
believe it.
all it's all a lie. Damn it! You caught me. If it wasn't for those kids, um, it's pretty surprising just how good of an experience this iPad Air is. I have it here. I got that lovely green color,
Ooh, that
and
is nice looking.
it certainly is nice. It's very fun. Um, I don't know. It's kind of like a green apple. I call it the big green mean machine or the big mean machine. Um, the bezels are a little bit thicker than the iPad Pro, than the 11-inch iPad Pro. It almost fits in some of the iPad Pro accessories, but the home button or the sleep wake button, excuse me, is a little bit bigger than on the iPad Pro. It's a really good experience. It is quick. The cameras are decent. In terms of like functionality versus the iPad Air, I think that versus the iPad Pro. I think this is probably the computer or the computer, right? This is the iPad that most people should buy if you're looking for something to keep like kind of long term, and you have I think a moderately heavy workflow. It's just nice. The Touch ID thing, the Touch ID sensor is just kind of it worked there for the first time. Know that. It doesn't work consistently. At least I've not been able to get it to work consistently. And when you go to unlock it, if it's in the keyboard, it's just weird in position. I don't know. Maybe I'm not used to. So two things. One, I'm really kind of surprised how many times I authenticated with Face ID that I didn't realize it. Where I'm like, oh, I have to unlock this now using my finger, and then swipe up or push down on
Hmm.
it. Uh, and the Touch ID mechanism, the unlocking mechanism, doesn't always work for me. That's just my experience. But so far, so good. I like it.
Yeah, the Touch ID part was the one concerning thing for me about it. I haven't
Yep.
used one, to be clear. This is just, outside perspective. And I hear that very consistently, that it's kind of jarring where you look at this device and there's almost like an expectation that it should have Face ID
Yes.
just based on its design. It's reminiscence, not just reminiscence, but like it's the same exact design as the Pro, and that's when they introduced Face ID because they
Yeah.
didn't think that Touch ID would work in that model. So it's kind of an odd decision. I feel like we're not going to have to wait that long for Face ID to come to the iPad Air 4. But I mean, that's a small thing because once you're in the experience, it sounds like it's an amazing iPad.
It is. It's very full feature. So my wife, she doesn't necessarily have a heavy workflow where she has to use where she uses a computer. I think most of the time, but this is because the iPad Pro 2017 is 3 years old right now, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
showing. I think it took a couple spills, so it's not necessarily in the greatest cosmetic condition. And instead of repairing it, I'm like, okay, I'll get something different and figure out what I can do with that. Uh, what I think is that you know the tension at 64 gigs, it's 799 for 64 gigs or 749 for 64 gigs. Sorry, 599 for 64 gigs and 749 for 256. Between that and the iPad Pro, which is 899 if I'm not mistaken for the 128 gig iPad Pro, there just seems like it's kind of a lot of tension where this seems to be like supercharged at that price point,
Mm-hmm.
and the iPad Pro seems to be, well, it could be a little bit better. Like Apple's almost trying to make people not buy the 11-inch iPad Pro. It seems like because of that pricing tension between the two devices.
Yeah. I think Face ID is worth it though. Like that alone I think is worth it. It'll make your whole experience that much cleaner and simpler and more seamless that I think it's worth it. But I think Fernando here is bringing up a good point of like, how much did Apple
Excuse me.
contemplate putting in the Face ID? I have to wonder how much more expensive a Face ID sensor is for an iPad versus an iPhone because the iPhone only has to orient its Face ID sensor for holding it
One direction.
upright,
Yeah.
one direction exactly, whereas the iPad has to be able to handle all of the directions.
Yep.
So how much does that increase the cost of that sensor? It is technically a different sensor.
Yeah. Right. And you have not only just the different sensor, right? So you have the display is going to be somewhat different because the border around the iPad Air and the iPad Pro is going to be different. I think it's like marginally thicker, like a couple millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. The entire camera array, like the camera array assembly, the true depth sensor. So there's definitely cost there. It must cost somewhere between what they're selling it, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. That's what my economics professor would say. But the margin there's it's got to be right. So
Yeah.
there's not just there's just not that, or there's not just that. There's also the ProMotion, because ProMotion is present on the iPad Pro, not present on the iPad Air. There's more RAM on the iPad Pro, not present on the iPad Air. So there's a number of different things. Also, you're going to have the more beefy processor, which is on the iPad Pro, not on the iPad Air. So I think it's a combination of all those things which really makes the price go up, but also that tension between the two much more greater.
Mm-hmm. Fernando has a hot take for us.
Oh,
He
let's see. What
says
does it say?
iPad Pro 11-inch will die like the 12-inch MacBook, and a Super iPad Pro 12.9-inch will be the only real Pro model, or they might make a 15-inch one.
I would love for Apple to make a bigger iPad Pro than what they have today. Something like 15 inches. Like I would love to have that as a second display here, like somewhere over here with that. That would
Mm-hmm.
be awesome. I would love to have that. And Fernando, I certainly back that 100%. If you need my vote, you got it. All right, I'll tell you that.
I feel the same way about a 15-inch iPad Pro as I do about a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which is I'm happy with 11-inch sides because I have my MacBook Pro, which is
Yeah.
already 15 inches. It's like great for people who need that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the 11-inch. I really hope they don't get rid of the 11-inch though. That to
Well,
me that would be upsetting because
the
I think
11
that's the
inch.
perfect size for me.
Well, that you have this, the iPad Air.
Well, if it doesn't have Face ID for right now, and it doesn't have the promotion display in, I don't know. I think I would like to have that distinction. Also, it's kind of like with there's something to be said for having Pro features in a smaller size. For example, 13-inch MacBook Air, 13-inch MacBook Pro,
Yeah.
6.1-inch iPhone 12, 6.1-inch iPhone 12 Pro. Sometimes you like that size form factor, but it's really a question of,
Mm.
do I need the extra, horsepower? Do I need that better camera or something like that? So I think it still has a place, but I
Yeah.
do think that a 15-inch model could really open up the iPad for more utility than it has right now, especially now that it's kind of on its own track of having iPad OS as a separate software from iOS.
Yeah. I think so too. I would like to see that. You know, maybe maybe they don't get rid of the 11-inch. Maybe it's sorry. Maybe this they find a new size somewhere between 11 and 12.9, and then increase the size on the larger one.
That could be it too. Like rather than having three Pro models, 11, 12.9, and 15, they go for
Yeah.
12 and 14 or 12 and 15.
Yeah. Split the difference, as I like to say.
Yeah, split the difference exactly.
Split the
With
difference.
thinner bezels, so it's like still the same size or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that would be interesting. And so, to that point, right? There's some new technologies that they've been rumored to go to the iPad Pro, which is mini LED, if I'm not mistaken, right, or micro LED.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you look at even though the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 11 are roughly the same size, or they have the same screen size, they're smaller because of the bezels that are shrunk now on the iPhone 12. So maybe they take a similar approach, and you get a similar size iPad in a smaller body or something like that. Who knows?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you, Fernando.
Thanks, Fernando. See you, Fernando. So that is interesting. Um, yeah, it's. I mean, definitely. If you have the opportunity to go take a look at it, I didn't get the blue. I wanted to get the blue, but I couldn't justify waiting for so long. It was
Oh, is it that
quite a
much
bit of. Blue.
longer for the blue?
It was like 2 more weeks, and this
Really
was
interesting.
yeah, yeah. It was available mid like second week of November, where this is Wi-Fi 256. It was available day one. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
um,
I probably would have made the same move myself.
yeah, and the green's not bad. My wife's like, "Ooh, that's pretty." I'm like, "That's not what I was going for, but I'll take it." Yeah. Um, the anything else you want to, I guess, add here to the iPad Pro or sorry, iPad Air?
No, no. I
No.
think it's beyond just. I think it's nice to see the iPad Air line is now officially going for that all-screen display. It's not
Yeah.
just for the pros. I think that's a nice step to see. One that I mean, obviously was going to happen. They weren't going to keep home buttons and Touch ID sensors as the home button forever on iPad. But it's nice to see that's going to start happening. And now I'm curious, when are we going to start seeing a mini in that form factor? When are we going to see just the standard iPad hit that form factor? That'll be interesting to see over the next few years as it kind of fully completes the transition.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the mini's been so the mini hasn't been refreshed in I think 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. 2018,
I'm curious. I don't
2018 or
know.
20. Yeah, I think so. The fifth generation was I think the most recent one, and
I'm looking it up right now. I'm going to Wikipedia. Keep going.
okay.
Sorry.
No, I was just thinking that when the most recent last time it was refreshed, I do remember I did a review of it, but it's got to be at least November of last year. No, no, not November.
It says
November of
March 18th, 2019.
oh, it was at the event where they announced Apple TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where it was. Um, so that would presumably it's at least 24 months from that point, right? So we could see it in the next 6 months. Who knows? But that would be I
Yeah.
think that would be a killer size, especially like in terms of utility. Something that small. Oh man. So I don't know about you, but do you watch Westworld?
I I watched the big. I've never been a big fan. I've watched the beginning of it. Never been a big fan. But the technology in
Okay.
the show is cool.
Dude, they have like a folding tablet. The guy like puts it in his pocket. Like I would love an
Yeah.
iPad Mini that could do that. That would be great. Sorry, a little
Yeah.
nerding out there. Um, uh, that let's see here. I think that's going to be it in terms of anything else that you want to cover then today, Holden.
We had the iPhone 12 Pro review here as well.
Oh, from Austin Mann. So
Yeah.
this, I, So this actually came out the day that the iPhones, or just a couple days before the iPhone came out. But he is basically a pro photographer, and he used the iPhone to go ahead and capture images at what national park? What Glacier National Park, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And
I think
just
it's
like
Glacier National Park.
the his ability to capture. Um, so anyone can take a photo with their phone, right? But just the composition of the photo, it's really, I think, an amazing job. I wish I could figure out how to share my screen here. This just is not working. Sorry about that, guys.
The photos
Uh,
are unbelievable. What he was able to take with an iPhone. Like I'll never take photos like that with an iPhone, even if I had the exact same camera that he does. There's
even if I
just
was
no
in the
way.
same, even if I was at the same point in time where he is, I'm like we're standing next to each other. I
Yeah.
could never take the same photo. Uh, yeah, and I think that is, it just really opens up and really underscores the capability of what the iPhone 12 line of phones is capable of with its camera. And I think additionally, there is that whole kind of upcoming feature of Apple, not ProRes, I'm thinking what they call it, Apple
Oh,
ProRAW.
Pro Raw or yeah, Pro
Yeah,
Raw.
ProRAW. Um, I mean, this looks super interesting in terms of capabilities and how this person is able to capture such, I mean, breathtaking photos using a phone that's always
Yeah.
that's in your pocket and in my pocket.
I think for me the two big whoa moments of this whole article. One is I came across a photo and it's of a lake with the mountains reflecting in the lake, and it's just a beautiful photograph. And I'm like, wow, that's a great daytime shot. And then underneath it, it says shot an iPhone 12 Pro with wide lens in night mode.
Yeah,
And I was convinced it was a daytime shot until I saw that caption. I was like, holy crap. Here's how detailed they got with the night mode. Not only can you see the reflection of the mountains in the water, you can see individual rocks underneath the surface of the water.
yeah,
Like that is incredible. That's really, really impressive. I think he did it with the 30-second exposure, which is probably how he got some of that, greater detail. But I mean,
yep.
either way, like holy crap, it's amazing. And then the other one that blew me away was there's a time. I'm trying to scroll to it right now, but there's a time lapse shot where you see the clouds moving and it transitioning from daytime to nighttime. And
Yep.
and the when I say the clouds are moving as well, you can kind of see it come up the mountains and the mist running across the water. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's really impressive.
I'm trying to I'm trying to share my screen and I just can't figure it out. Like I
No
just gotta
worries.
I know, but it's a good example of like the capabilities that are on here with that
Hmm.
screen share.
Yeah. He also talks about MagSafe in here as well, which I thought was interesting, which is just basically I was excited to be able to just snap phones on and off tripods and all that stuff, or having specialized flashes that you can just take on and off really easily without like
Yeah.
plugging into a port or anything like that. Like it seems like he's really excited about that. And then he also talks about the 5G speeds and just that like when you're traveling and you need to download really large photos, because I mean this guy is working with sorry, not pro, well, Pro Raw, I guess is what I was going with that. But a raw photograph is a huge file. That's a
Yep.
big file compared to a normal photograph. So just that flexibility he says it gives him, he's like, this is going to change my workflow. It's just a matter of 5G being available where he's taking the photograph, which at a national park like this is probably going to be a little while, but it's still cool nonetheless that it will have that kind of impact on his workflow.
Yeah. I mean, it's very inspiring to see that someone can capture these type of beautiful photos with something that is always in their pocket, and let alone their pocket. It's
Hmm.
in your pocket, my pocket, and it just kind of underscores that the capability that these phones have. It's impressive. And onto the MagSafe, I guess extension to his comment, right? The thought of having accessories that can quickly attach to tripods and whatever the other accessories are is very interesting. Um, yeah, and I'm really interested to see if Apple makes another phone case this year another battery case for the iPhone 12 that has a shutter button in it. That would be
Hmm.
very interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that would be very interesting. This guy is super talented, Austin Mann, and let me just put this into the chat for those who just can't share my screen effectively. Everyone can see this, but it's pretty wild. Yeah, here's that photo where it's like taking at night. I'm like, no way.
It looked like a daytime photo. It straight up looked like a daytime photo.
Yeah, it does in night mode. So unfortunately, like I wanted to go out shooting on Friday night here, and the weather's just been pretty crappy um, up until I think today was really the first nice day. Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I haven't had a chance to go out shooting with the new phone, but I can't really wait to go out and do that. Catch some nice sunsets.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, Holden, anything else you want to add to that?
I had one random thing I wanted to talk about. It's been in my mind the past week.
Okay.
It's really actually something to do with Apple products, although I guess it could carry over to Apple products eventually. I'm curious your thoughts on transparent displays, like the
Well,
TVs and stuff where you can see behind it, or the phone where you can see behind the glass. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
so let me tell you that it's funny that you say this. Like, I got into a Twitter argument with someone. They're like, "Oh my God, this is the future." I'm like, "This is kind of. I mean, it's the technology is pretty cool. Like,
Yeah,
there's
it's
no
cool.
doubt
Absolutely,
about
it's
that.
cool. Yeah,
But the application and the real world use cases, in my opinion, like don't it's not there. Like there
yeah,
was, I think it was is it Xiaomi or me who had a transparent TV. Maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at this! This is awesome! You can watch the TV from anywhere in the room." I'm like, "Well, hold on a second here. First of all, if I'm watching an image and you're on the other side of me, that image is going to be flipped more than likely, right? Because that's how it would
yeah,
work, right? So let's just say if you're thinking about accessibility, if you're watching it with captions, that means those captions are going to be flipped. So how does
yeah,
that work? And maybe I'm wrong in the fact that that's not how it's implemented. Maybe they have some kind of, I don't know, smart detection on the other side and they flip the captions around. Who knows? But you have to think about there's power, there's cable, like all those things that are need to get into the television in order for it to run. I mean, chances are you probably aren't watching television from, you know, from any perspective around the TV. But it certainly is
hmm
a cool technology. It certainly is.
yeah. It reminds me of like people talking about jetpacks in the 60s. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, by the 2000s, Army have jetpacks. And it's like, well, it didn't really work out that way. And I feel like this
Yeah.
is the same thing, except we can actually make the transparent displays as opposed to being able to make jetpacks. Is
Yeah.
like, this is not going to be the future. It might seem like it's the future because you saw it in Black Mirror and they had
Yes.
transparent phones in Black Mirror, but it doesn't actually mean it's going to happen. And I was thinking about like how much I hate glare on like a TV or on my
Mm.
phone. Why would I want to see behind the screen if I don't like things obstructing from the front? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
why would I want something obstructing from the back? It doesn't really make any sense to me. Like I can't think of the utility for it outside of maybe like AR glasses, like the actual like lens. It works
Yeah.
it works for Iron Man. But that's what I mean. Like it's in a movie. Like it wouldn't actually be fun to use in real life. But like for AR glasses, like the actual glasses of my glasses being an AR display, that would
Yeah.
make sense for transparent. But outside of that, like I can't see televisions using it. I can't see wanting it in a phone or an iPad or an Apple Watch or anything.
Maybe there's some type of application for automotive, maybe where you have like your rear view mirror, where you want to be able to see through the rear view mirror. Because right
Yeah,
now it's it blocks that line of vision, but you also want to get some type of data there. I don't know, and maybe I'm just not thinking about it the right way, but there certainly are probably other applications that people who are much smarter than I am have like, oh yeah, that would really work, here and maybe in medical surgery or I don't something else, but in space flights. I have no idea, but I don't know what those are, and I don't really see it being super useful. But that's just me.
yeah. No, I think you have a good point there with like the driving a car and having like your windshield, like maybe
Yeah,
the in Apple Maps the blue line that's on the road is like actually on the road via this
yeah,
transparent like that kind of stuff would be cool. But as terms of like general purpose devices, I can't imagine wanting to watch a movie and well, there's no more rich blacks anymore because the pixels that were going to be black are now just transparent. Like I don't even know like how that would like because the only OLED screens work
oh
by
yeah,
being able to turn off the pixel.
Yep.
Like you can't really do that anymore. That's not a thing. Like we have to rethink so many things, and again, the utility of it.
Well, it's not only that, right? You also have to. It's not just about how you display. How you display content, but the content creation pipeline has to be different too, right? Because you have to think about,
Hmm.
am
Yeah.
I doing that? That manipulation of those pixels on the television? No, I have to do it farther up the pipeline. It's got to be created that way. So those formats, I think there has to be probably special formats around that type of display.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's I think it's more like, wow, we did this, not like, okay, now let's go stick it inside of someone's phone or in their house.
Yeah.
It's for people
Yeah.
who only really have screw you money, right? Like I can do whatever I want. Uh, it's a few years before I think really it has serious application, at least.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, what made you think about that? Just curious.
When I go to YouTube now, I occasionally get recommended the video of Linus Tech Tips, like we got a transparent TV, and I haven't watched it honestly because every time I see the thumbnail, I'm just like, that's so stupid. I'm not gonna watch that video, but it always gets recommended to me. Um, like I just don't understand the concept. Maybe I should actually watch the video and see what he has to say about it.
So Linus makes. I mean, he makes good content. So I mean,
Very good
I assume
content, yeah.
yeah. Now I'm gonna have to go watch that video. All right, we'll have to watch that. Let's see here. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for us today. Unless Holden, anything you want to add?
I think that covers it.
Yeah, Holden, where can everyone find you at? Other than in the
I
podcast?
am on Twitter. Yeah, this podcast. Um, I'm on Twitter at Holden DePardo. And then I
Mhm.
also do a video game podcast with my friend Chad. That's called Respawn Aim Fire, which is at Twitter, the same thing, at Respawning Fire. We also post our content to YouTube as well. And that's going to be airing on Twitch every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And then we post the podcast version and the YouTube video on Tuesday at 9 a.m.,
Okay.
both Eastern time for Twitch and release.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, Holden, thank you very much for joining me today. And it was fun, as always, talking tech with you. And everyone, thanks very much for joining live. We will talk to you in the next episode.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.